Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Roy, and welcome to my channel, 40 and Broke, where we're all about getting out of debt, saving, investing, and getting our finances under control so we can live the life we've always dreamed of. Because that's what it's all about, living the life we've always dreamed of. So, I wanted to come here and do some more, more Prison to Penthouse prison stories. So, I probably would have done this video this weekend. If I haven't got to your video, I completely apologize. I've been really far behind on videos. I had company this weekend. They come from out of state. Every year, the Coleman Veterans Memorial puts on a concert. And so this year, they usually do it on the Sunday before Memorial Day. This year, they couldn't do it because of, the pandemic, the shutdowns and everything. So they did it on September 11th this past weekend. So we had a bunch of people come up from out of state, and they hang out at our house, and they were in our campers and left us booze. So if you look, this is my camper. One of the guys stayed in the camper. This is what he left us. I just noticed this. Merry Christmas to us. What do we got in here? American honey. Oh, can you see that? American honey. I don't know what that is. Some sort of whiskey, maybe. The rest is all Fireball. But if I actually drink, that would be all. If I actually drank, that would be awesome. But so usually that's what they do. They come, they hang out, they go to the concert, and they leave us a bunch of alcohol because they can't take it back on the planes or whatever. So there's always a ton of alcohol at my house that never gets drank, but it's well aged. So that's why I haven't really gotten to any videos. And I tried to get up. I tried to stay ahead a little bit, but man, it is what it is. Like I said, I had company. So, but all right. So a few of the questions that I had was people were asking me, what was your mindset like when you got out of prison? So that's hard to explain, because you figure I was 18 when I went to prison. So my mindset was pretty, I was young. So my mindset was, what a young person does. Especially when you look at, like, you got 11 years. Fortunately, I fell in with a bunch of old heads that didn't let me do too much dumb stuff. But 11 years in prison, I got out when I was 29. That shapes a lot of your mentality. So my mentality getting out of prison, I was 18 when I went to prison. I got out at 29. I was a kid when I went to prison. When I got out of prison, I was a full-grown man, So the only thing I really had going for me was, before I got locked up, I actually had a job. I had turned my life around pretty much. Obviously the damage was already done, but I had turned my life around, and I had a full-time job. At 18, I was hanging drywall. So I knew what it was like to have some sort of responsibility. I paid bills. I did stuff like that. There were bills that I was accountable for, or that I was, accountable for, that I had to pay. And so I knew what that was like. So when I get out, I'm 29. Now you're a full grown man. You've got totally different responsibilities than when you're 18. Now, the point that I was trying to make is, my mentality was different. Now, my whole time in the joint, I held a job the whole time. I always got good work reviews. My work reports, everything. They were always good. They were always excellent. I never got my bonuses taken away, because every month you'd have a review, and that would decide on whether you would get your bonuses for whatever job you had. And I always got good monthly reviews, so I never had to worry about that. Now, I had a good work ethic. So when I got out of, like I said, when I got out of prison, I brought that ethic out with me. But what we're talking about is a little different. your mentality, the mentality of how to survive in there. I knew the rules of prison, that I could survive prison. I know the rules of prison. Respect, honor, and basically your word are the three biggest things you have in there, especially respect. So if people don't respect you, they'll walk all over you, or they'll try to walk all over you, or your bit can be rough. Now, if somebody disrespects you, then you usually reply in kind, which that can be anywhere from a verbal confrontation, and that's as far as it goes, to obviously it can become physical up to criminal. So, like I said, I knew the rules of prison. I come out and the rules are totally different. If somebody does something to me out here and I respond like I'm accustomed to responding, it gets you back in prison. Now, fortunately, I was lucky, and the few things that I did have, they never really escalated too far to where I caught another bit or anything, which I was very fortunate. But like I've said in previous videos, I tried to stay out of dumb stuff. I didn't want to get into dumb stuff. So, all right, so now that I've rambled on about what the mentality is like, there were the few comments, and I told people I'd mention the motion detector light, and I would mention the arm wrestling that almost ended in a drunken brawl. So, my very first night out, I paroled to my dad's house. He lived in a modular home, 3-bedroom. He had the master bedroom. My brother had a bedroom, and I had a bedroom. Now, my brother also did 6.5, 8. Maybe my brother did like 6.5, maybe 8 years in prison, something like that. 6 to 8, something like that. And I think 8. I think he did 8. Anyways, he got out in 2005. 2006. So he was paroled to my dad's house at the same time I was paroled to my dad's house. So we both had a room there. And, well, I remember they got me something for light, because we made fun of my brother about this, because he got like locked in the room, and he was trapped in the room. He didn't, like, when he first got out of prison, he woke up in the middle of the night. It was so dark in the room that he could not find his way out of the room. So they made fun of him about how he got locked in his room. And I used to laugh at him, and he's like, dude, you don't understand. In prison, there is always some sort of ambient light. Always. Whether it's from the rock, from the hall outside, there's always some sort of light. He's like, in here? No, there's nothing. So one of the first things I did was get an alarm clock with the digital numbers, just so I had a little bit of light. So now back to the motion detector. Like I said, it's really dark. And my room faced the street. The motion detector light kept going off outside over the garage. And I'm like, so now I've got in my mind, someone's trying to break into the house. Somebody's trying to do, because who's going to be sneaking around the house making this motion detector light go off? So I get up and I get a baseball bat. So I'm like sneaking out. I'm all like ninja shit, sneaking out. I sneak out the back door and I creep along down the deck out the side of the house, and that light goes on. And I'm like peeking around the house at the garage right there in front of me, and I'm like, but I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing anybody. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, okay. So I sit there and I wait for the light to go off. And I'm sitting, and it goes on again, and I'm like, oh, what the shit? So I'm looking. Nothing. I'm not seeing anything. I'm like, okay. Maybe it's the wind. Maybe something's causing it to go. Maybe like tree branch or something. I go back in. Now this light keeps popping on and off. And it's freaking me out. And I'm like, so I'm thinking somebody's sneaking up to the house. You know, who's going to break into the house? What's going on? I'm freaking out. In and out. I'm in and out with a baseball bat, trying to figure out who's sneaking into the house, who's coming into the house, who's trying to break into our stuff, who's trying to steal our stuff. So first night, I don't get any sleep. And then my brother, I tell him, I'm like, dude, this shit's crazy. I was like, I don't know. Someone's trying to sneak around our house. He's like, dude, we're at the end of Stray Cat Alley. He's like, I'm outside chasing stray cats around is what I'm doing. So as soon as they hear me, they bolt. And so that's why I wasn't seeing anybody. And then the cats would walk, set off the motion detector. I mean, at the end of this road, there's stray cats everywhere. There's a ton of stray cats. So basically, I'm chasing stray cats around. Oh, man. That was pretty funny. My cousin April wanted to come out with some firecrackers and let them off underneath my window, but they were worried I'd freak out and come out and beat the hell out of somebody with a baseball bat. And then when they find out about the cat story, they were like, oh, it's a good thing we didn't do that. Now, I remember another thing. I had one of those alarm clocks. The first clock I had the first night, it was one of those circle alarms like you'd see on a cartoon, and it had the hammer that would like ding 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 between the two bells. One of those types of clocks. And this thing, as it would do the second hand, it'd be like tick 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 every second, and you could hear it clicking as it went around. And I was trying to ignore it. And I couldn't ignore it. I mean, I had to get this clock out of my room. Have you ever heard The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe? Yeah, I had the clock because this thing was ticking every second, and it started causing my heart rate to click in turn with it. And I used to run so much that my normal resting heart rate was about 48 to 51 beats per minute. And so now this ticking at every second was causing my heart rate to actually increase and give me anxiety. Oh, I had to get rid of that damn clock. But now, the arm wrestling thing. So, we go to a local bar. And we're sitting there, and I had long hair at the time. I had really long hair. And we had the tables all spread out so that we could all sit there. Oh, there was probably 10 to 15 of us. I have a huge family, cousins and stuff. So all my cousins, their wives, we're all at this bar. And my brother's down at the other end, and I'm down at this end. So he's way down here, and I'm way down here. And we're all having different conversations. Well, there were these two guys. My one cousin, he said, for some reason, people just want to arm wrestle him all the time. And he's like, I don't understand it. They just see me and want to arm wrestle me, which I was like, I don't understand that. What's the point of that? Well, I guess this guy was like, hey, I want to arm wrestle you. Dude was like, my cousin's like, dude, no. He's like, no, you don't understand. I want to arm wrestle you. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to tell you the same thing I've said to the other guy. I'm not into dudes. I don't want to hold your hand. Go find somebody else. And, well, I guess that made the dude mad. So they're sitting up at the bar. Well, I mean, we're just having a good old time. Like my brother was down, and they were, like I said, I just got out of prison. All I did was work out. I mean, I had the nice abs. I was pretty ripped up. So they were talking, hey, Leroy, show us your abs. So I'm up, got my shirt up. I'm, flexing. I take my shirt off. I'm flexing and stuff like that. All the girls are hooting and hollering or whatever. So then they're like, Chad, what happened to you? Why don't you look like that? You were in prison too. So my brother jumps up on the table or up on the chair, rips his shirt off, starts flinging it around his head, starts yelling, calling himself Hottie Too Fatty. He's like, yeah, I'm Hottie Too Fatty. And he's like, I used to look like that. Give him a couple years. He won't have that six-pack anymore. So basically we sit back down. And we're just sitting there having a few drinks, and those two guys are up at the bar up there. And they're like, I don't know what they did, but the one guy, they're sitting there, and the one guy turns to his buddy, and he says something. The other guy, then he looks at me, and then the other guy looks at me, and then they look at each other, they say something, and then they both look back at me, and boom, I'm set off. I'm not, now I'm pissed. Now, no, who the fuck, who do you think you are? And that's what I was like. I was like, who the hell does this guy think he is? And I looked at my cousin's ex-wife, and I was like, hey, give me a hair tie. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, give me a hair tie. I need a hair tie. So she's giving me the hair tie, and I'm putting my hair up into a ponytail because I'm getting ready to whoop the hell out of these guys, and I don't want them to be able to just grab my hair. So she looks down, and she's like, Chad, Leroy's putting his hair in a ponytail. What's going on? And he's like, he jumps up. He's like, oh, shit. He's about to fuck somebody up. And so they come running down to the other table, and that's when I'm starting to get up to talk to these guys. They're like, who do you think you are? You think you're going to point at me like I'm some punk? I don't know who you think you are. So my cousins got me held back, and they're like, dude, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, these two guys right here, they think they're tough. I'm going to show them what tough shit is. I was like, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going back to prison for a simple assault. I'm going to these guys right up. And so they're holding me back. They're like, we'll take care of it. So they get me drug outstairs. They get me drug outside. And they're like, dude, just calm down. So they go back in. These other two guys are like, whoa, we don't want no issues. We don't want no issues. And I don't know what they ever said, what the two guys ever said, but they ended up leaving. We come back in, had a few more drinks, but our night was basically over. And it was like, I just remembered putting that ponytail in, and Tammy's like, hey, Chad, your brother's putting his hair in a ponytail. And he's just like, boom, eyes getting huge. He's like, he's about to somebody up. You stop him. So, so that's basically, that's kind of what your mentality is. It's like, when there's a threat, you eliminate the threat. And it's one of those things where I was fresh out of prison, and I took a situation, and they did something that they didn't realize what they did. They're out here. To me, what they did, to them, it was probably nothing. But to me, it was complete disrespect. Who do you think you are? So, I don't like using the word triggered, but it triggered me. I was instantly pissed. I went from happy to it's on. It is on. And so that's the mentality that a lot of guys have. Whoops. Sorry about that. I kind of moved and hit the table leg with my foot. But that's kind of the mentality you have. Things are, you can't let a situation, like in prison, you do one of two things. If a situation escalates, you have to take care of the situation, or you have to de-escalate the situation. I'm very good at de-escalating, simply because normally I want to escalate the situation. But like I said, there was the guy at Marquette that taught me, you are beating your head against the wall. You won't win. They will win. You will not, because you will do the rest of your life in prison and you'll be a dumbass. So I learned to de-escalate situations. I was really good at that. And I still kind of am. Just like the other day, I had a situation at work where the guy really upset me, and he did not realize how much he upset me. And I just sat there nodding my head, smiling, talking just normal as can be. But in my mind, I was ready to fly and kick him. I was ready to just put the boot right to his head and be like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? You have no clue who the fuck you think who you're talking to. But it's that mentality. It's that you just disrespected me and you don't even realize you did it. I'm like, you don't even realize what you did. And so now you will always be on my radar. And it's like, that's the mentality you have. It's it's different, you know. It's a huge difference. I notice, you know, a lot of people, I've always said, you rarely catch me slipping. People rarely sneak up behind me. It's, I was at a bar one time with my brother, and I was about to wrap this video up, but here's one thing about what your life is like in prison. Just like I'm sitting here talking to you. Imagine you're me, and every time I'm sitting there talking to my brother, and he goes like this. And he looked up. He'd look up behind me. And as soon as he looked up behind me, I'd just be like, and I'd look behind me and then go right back to the conversation. And every time he looked behind me, he'd just glance up over my shoulder, and I'd just be like, every time. And there was this girl that was there, and he was telling her what he was doing. He's like, watch him, watch him. And every time he would look behind me, I would turn my head, and she's laughing. And I had no clue what was going on, and he kept doing it. And she was like, every time he looks behind you, you turn and look. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, why is that? And I'm like, he's watching my back. It's his job to watch my back, because my back was to the bar. I'm like, it's his job to watch my back. So anytime he looks over my shoulder, it's indicating to me that there's a threat behind me that I need to register. So as soon as he would look over my shoulder, that would tell me there's a threat, and I have to turn around and I have to assess the threat. And she's like, that's crazy. We're all just here in a bar having fun. And I'm like, you're just having fun. I'm in a crowded situation with my back to a crowd that I do not know. It's his job, I said, and he knows exactly what he's doing. That's why he was laughing. He knew exactly what he was doing. But to him, it was also, to my brother, it was also, it was ingrained. When we're in that situation, whenever him and I talk, we don't stand side by side. One of us is always facing the other one. So that way, when we're talking, he's watching my back and I'm watching his back. We even do this at family gatherings. And it's a force of habit. And it's a mentality that you have from in prison. You've got somebody always watching your back. Because if you can't watch your back, someone could sneak up on you. My first day out, we went to eat at Big Boy. My dad, my brother, my grandma, and I believe my sister. Maybe not my sister. She might have been working. But anyways, they come to pick me up. So we're at Big Boy. We're sitting in the booth, and I'm on the outer edge. And every time somebody would walk by me, I don't know how I finished my meal, because every time somebody came by, I'm over my meal like this. Like, if here's my plate, I'm like over top of it. I got my hands over top of it, because that keeps anybody else from grabbing your food. But so I'm over top of the meal, and I've got a fork in one hand and a knife in the other, and I'm watching. Somebody moves, I'm like, you know, just constantly watching. And my brother was making fun of me, you know, but he knew what I was doing. So, but hey, this is a holy hell, this is almost a 25-minute video. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up here. So yeah, basically the mentality is, it's a rough one to break, and there's a lot of things. I mean, anybody that's been in I don't want to like equate it to an abusive relationship or anything like that. But if you're in if you have something that causes you trauma, that mentality always sticks with you, no matter what, no matter where you go. And the reason I say like an abusive relation, because it's like, I've dated women where it was like, well, this guy did such and such. Well, I'm not that guy, you know, but you're accustomed to what that guy did. It's the same thing with someone who gets out of prison. Well, when I was in prison, this is what my mentality was. This is what I had to do. So basically, that's what it was, you know. So that mentality sticks with you, and it'll always, I mean, that mentality will always be with me. Like I said, I had that guy at work, and he did not realize, to this day, he probably does not. And it just happened a little bit ago. It's like, you do not realize what you said or what you did, that how close I came. If I was mad, I was very mad. I'm like, who do you think you are thinking you're going to talk about me like that? Talk to me like that, you know? But I let it slide because I'm like, this is not a situation that I need to escalate, because he doesn't know what he's talking about. So basically, there it is. There's another one of those mentalities. But at the same time, you got to overcome it. You got to adapt and overcome. Otherwise, you are going to set yourself up for failure. You know, I don't want that to be everything I just said. I do not want anybody to use as an excuse to go back to prison and be like, well, you know, this is the mentality of how it is, so this is how it's going to be. No, you adapt and overcome. You're in a new world. You create a new mindset. You conform to the rules. You know, if you want to go back to prison with all the dumb shit, yeah, then just keep that mentality. Go back to prison, because that's what you're going to do. But you got to learn to conform to these rules, you know. So that's all I got to say. I've rambled on way too long. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Give me that big thumbs up for that YouTube algorithm. You know, subscribe to the channel down below. And like I said, Prison to Penthouse. I've been to the bottom. Let's go to the top. You know, if you want to see what I do with my finances, check out some of my other finance videos, and you'll see, hey, you know, I may have been in prison for 11 years, but I'm doing it. You know, I'm going to the top, and this is how I'm doing it. I'm documenting both of it. I'm documenting my stuff at the bottom, and I'm documenting my rise to the top. So there you go. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I've rambled on enough. Y'all have a good night.